Not done yet, Dennis. Not done yet. The Denver Nuggets are not done. They force a Game 7 in Aniello. It is just thumbs down over here at Ball Arena. Julian Strawther, the call from the Mile High Hoops podcast earlier today.
Yes.
Saying he needed to play 20 minutes for the Nuggets to win. He played 19 minutes and 31 seconds. I will round that one up and chalk that up as a dub, just like as I chalked the Denver Nuggets up as a dub. Jamal Murray plays through the flu. Nikola Jokic was terrific. Jalen Williams, an all-star. Yikes. That's a real thumbs down. And the Denver Nuggets have forced Shai Gilgeous-Alexander into his second ever Game 7. The other one also came against Russell Westbrook. That was a win for the Houston Rockets. And I cannot believe we're going 7 and into the Sooner State. And the prophetic Aniello Piro has never looked more right about Nuggets in 7 because that is on the table.
It should have been Nuggets in 5, but what do the Nuggets do? They let to shoot themselves in the foot. And Nikola Jokic in his post-game press conference talking about, what's been the difference? How would he kind of talk about this series as a whole? What's going to be important in Game 7? And one of the first things out of his mouth was defense and, precision and being on top and not making mistakes and shooting yourself in the foot like we saw them do at the ends of Game 4 and Game 5. I mean, this was a good victory tonight for Denver. We'll talk plenty about Julian Strawther, but I just think from the jump, what's the other thing I said on the pregame show today? You want to see him go out there and try to give him a little bit of a punch. And I understand that the back end of the first quarter wasn't so great defensively, but I saw early in the first quarter showed me this was a team that showed up ready to play.
Yeah, you got out to an early 10-point lead, established yourself, and Nikola Jokic just talked about it. It was the first game all series, besides Game 2 with Oklahoma City, where a team got out to a lead and kind of hung on to it. Yeah, the Nuggets lost it. It turned into a 12-point lead, but it was the first game all series, besides Game 2 against Oklahoma City, where the team that threw the first punch actually ended up winning the game.
Yeah. OKC led by as many as 12 at one point, Denver by 16. So it was a little bit of a flip-flop affair, but
that 16 was late. It was really between 10 and 10 the entire game. It was within reach for both teams.
A great series.
And the Nuggets snatched it. It's been a great series. This is the former champion against a 68-win team, and this is paid all of lived up to all the hype. I saw some, casual NBA people talking about, national NBA people, not casual NBA people, talking about this series as secretly this is actually the finals. I don't know if I'd go that far. We talked about it on the podcast last week about whoever comes out of the series is going to have a really good chance. But I will tell you, Denver Nuggets, you've played 14 games. You've won 2 Game 7s. Your reward is the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I don't know about all of that from the Nuggets perspective, but from the Thunder perspective, yes, this can be a totally galvanizing thing. And I was honestly, I wasn't shocked that they were a little bit tight, but I was surprised that come the second half, when the Thunder have had so much more legs, AP, the Nuggets out-rebounded the Thunder by, I think, 13 in the second half. I can pull up the number in front of me, but it was an outstanding rebounding effort, and they minimized mistakes. I know 16 turnovers is pretty loud, but they didn't have many in the normal portion of the game.
Right, and 16 turnovers is right around the season average that Oklahoma City is forcing their opponents to commit in a game-in and game-out basis. I mean, they are a pesky team. You saw Alex Caruso and Aaron Gordon going at each other at one point there in the game. Physical, this, that, the other. But to your point about the rebounds, I mean, tonight Denver out-rebounds Oklahoma City 52-40. And
they were plus 17 in the second half.
Yeah, they absolutely cleaned up in that department. And what else did I tell you today on the podcast? Like I said, I didn't expect Denver to shoot as poorly from 3 as they did in Game 5. They were, below 30% tonight. They go 12 of 32 from 3. That's good for 37.5%. That's going to win you a lot of basketball games. So 3-point shooting, rebounding, getting something worth the darn off the bench. It all came together tonight in a must-win do-or-die Game 6. Can they now do it again in Game 7?
Yeah, I think Denver has won each game in this series when they have outshot the Thunder from 3.
Good point.
So that is kind of the math playing into the Nuggets' hands.
You expect, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, they will be much better than the Thunder at home. Like Lou Dort's 3-point numbers are much better at home than on the road. J-Dub, again, we'll say that for the end of the show. But point being, Denver's going to have to probably be better on Sunday than they were tonight if they want to win the game.
Before I lose the train of thought, I was talking to someone off the record that works in the Nuggets staff.
Tell us.
And they said, don't look at those shooting splits going into Game 7, please. Don't write about them. Home versus road.
Well, we're objective here at the Fan.
Yeah, I mean,
we're objective.
And I told that person, I'm like, I already have. I'm aware.
I'll talk about it. I'm sure some people won't talk about it because, this, that, the other, but we're objective here at the Fan. We talk about it all.
No doubt. It was a remarkable game. I don't think it was. I don't think it was the best game the Nuggets have played, but it showed a lot of courage throughout the course of the game. I thought their defense was fantastic. And when the Nuggets defense has been good in these playoffs, that's when they've been at their best.
100%.
Nicole even said going into game 7, that's the number one thing they need to focus on. And I talked about it earlier today on the pod with the 3 different things they needed to do tonight. They needed to play Julian Strawther more. They needed to set a very hard screen, which we got at least Aaron Gordon and Alex Caruso's grill at one point.
Scrap.
And they needed to what was the third thing? What were we just talking about?
Was it 3-point?
Gosh,
there's a lot of things. Our brains are both collectively mush right now.
I've been covering basketball every other day for 17 days.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. But point being, they showed up tonight. And my big thing, Jake, was have they learned from their mistakes? And I think Jokic kind of hinted at that a little bit, talking about how, down the stretch we had a lead, third game in a row now, 4 and 5. They had 8-point leads going into the fourth quarter. Same exact scenario tonight. So that shows me a team that has been able to right their wrongs to a certain extent. And look, Denver plays their best basketball when their backs are against the wall. You what was the metric you threw out to me about like game 7s in a row, or like they played one in 1920?
The only team the last team in the NBA who is the last 3 teams in the NBA who have played a round 1 and a round 2 game 7 in the same season. The 2025 Denver Nuggets, the 2020 Denver Nuggets, and the 2019 Denver Nuggets. So this is where they're familiar. Again, talking to a person off the record in the locker room, but they're like, back in a game 7, this is where we belong.
Hey, what up, Detroit?
Welcome, Detroit.
How we doing, Detroit? Good luck with the tornado.
Stay safe, please. This is not relevant compared to what you're probably maybe going through, facing. Anyway,
but shout out Detroit, man. That's
shout
cool.
out Detroit, 313, right? Similar to us, 303. So I do look at this game, and there's a couple things that stick out to me that are kind of concerning moving forward. And this it worked out tonight, but concerning moving forward. I said going into the series, if the Nuggets outshot the Thunder from the three somewhere, or from the free throw line, got 6 to 8 more attempts a game, that's where they want to be living. Tonight, the Nuggets shot twice as many free throws as the Thunder, and somehow the whistle was not very good for the Nuggets in this game too. So 16 free throws for the Thunder. They shot just 10 of 16 at the line. The Nuggets were 27 to 32. The Nuggets need to get to the foul line somehow in a game 7 in Oklahoma. Yep. That is probably unlikely, but the Nuggets are going to have to find a way to get to the line.
Mark Davis won't be the official, hopefully. So
that's unlikely. There is a chance of it because there's the 2 days off, but it's unlikely because they normally rotate the officials. Probably Scott Foster, Zach Zarba, Tony Brothers, something like that.
Play the song.
Someone's going to make themselves the hero. Speaking of people that made themselves the main character, Russell Westbrook was absolutely atrocious in the first half of this game. Blew the Nuggets 10-point lead in just 6 minutes.
It's crazy.
It was a minus 14. He threw up 3 missed shots. He had 2 turnovers. And I know our guy Jose, he was talking about it as well.
Jose.
I didn't want Westbrook to come back out for the second half. He provided some energy. He was a +7 in those minutes. Ultimately, he was really doing nothing in those minutes. But Westbrook now has been a disaster in game 4, game 5, and game 6 in this series. And there's a little bit of hope I have that he's okay in a game 7, which is just the fact that he's been there and beaten Oklahoma City in a game 7 before, and he's got veteran experience, and maybe he's going to play a little looser in a game where everyone's going to be playing tight. But in the same sense, as soon as he touches the floor, my fingers are going to be ready to tweet mean things.
Oh, Russ. He played, 17 minutes tonight? And I think a lot of that was because of Julian Strawther and just kind of what you're able to get off the bench. No Michael Porter Jr. for the most part in the second half as well. I mean, it's a disaster sometimes. But it's also, I think back to that game against the Clippers. Like there's been moments where you can praise him. There's been moments where you can destroy him. And, my optimistic point of view tells me that he'll show up and play well in game 7. To your point, he's had 3 bad games in a row. Law of averages tells us that he'll balance out hopefully here in game 7. But, I think the thing with Russell Westbrook, excuse me. Sorry, that's the first time I've done that. Same thought process.
Team 3.
Yeah, exactly. You do not want Russell Westbrook being a primary scoring option. I'm fine with him facilitating, despite the fact that he plays downhill a little too fast for me. And he's good on defense and he brings good energy. So there's some aspects of Russell Westbrook's game that, frankly, in my opinion, are essential to the Denver Nuggets. It's the scoring.
So
the shot taking.
what you're exactly saying. We talked about this earlier today on the podcast. It was just lost in the math because we did, frankly, way too much math earlier in the podcast.
Yeah, I don't do math.
Yeah, we did too much math. So we gave you the three different there's two different lineups the Nuggets have had, 3-man lineups that have just been atrocious for the Nuggets this season, and both of them included Russell Westbrook. They were like Watson, Westbrook, and Porter, I believe, and they're like a -60 in like 30 minutes or something so far in the playoffs. Okay, first half, Westbrook's minutes were with those guys, and the lead went like that.
Yep.
Second half, his minutes were with Jamal Murray. And that's why I think that the minutes weren't as loud and as disastrous for the Nuggets. Jamal Murray in this game, by the way, awesome. Like, I thought he was just awesome.
Yeah,
he was 9-19, flu game. Every time he has the flu game, which I want to go flu arrow, every time I want to write this headline, flu arrow, somehow someone does something bigger than that, which Julian Strawther did tonight. So can't write the flu arrow story tonight. We'll have to come back because Jamal apparently will get sick again in the playoffs. It's just a story.
One per round.
Yeah, one per round. That's the average so far. But he's 9-19, plays 42-40. He looked dog bleep tired. Like, he looked bad. And
Adelman was saying in his post game that like there was a lot of guys that were happy to have that extra day off.
He was very clear, as well as Jamal Murray, who said he was very happy to have that extra day off. Of course,
they deserve it.
Of course, the Nuggets could have had 100 days off, but they are happy that they get at least 2, and they do deserve it. And the NBA has done no favors with the schedule. And I'll just tell you right now, if the Nuggets somehow find a way to win on Sunday, guess what? The next series starts again on Tuesday. It's the same turnaround they had from round 1, except they're at least coming home to Denver. So they're going to be playing every other day in the conference finals too. So we're in for a very, very long month of May if the Nuggets are able to pull this out. But Jamal Murray in totality, he adds 8 rebounds tonight, gets 7 assists. I just thought he was so good overall. And these are the Jamal Murray games I love, AP. Is like, I love Jamal Murray as a basketball player. You know, Nikola Jokic, obviously my favorite Nugget. But Jamal, in his ability to grind through tough times, and he always seems to get better when the moment gets bigger or when the moment gets tighter. And tonight he was fantastic, and he's been historically fantastic in Game 7. So I'm not surprised if he's going to have another great Game 7. But to have 25, 8, and 7 in this game, so big, and he did it with not much legs and not much breath.
Yeah, and I think specifically in the first quarter, he was hunting for his shot. He set the tone offensively tonight for the Denver Nuggets. And here's something interesting I came across on social media after the game. You mentioned he scores 25 tonight. Jamal Murray has more 25-point playoff games than Devin Booker, Jalen Brunson, Joel Embiid, Kevin Garnett, Tracy McGrady, Bill Russell, Derrick Rose, Penny Hardaway, Chauncey Billups, and Vince Carter.
Stop for that for a second. Josh Dover, if you're watching this, you came at me a couple years ago on Twitter, said, you got to be kidding me, Shap. If you want Jamal Murray over Devin Booker, give me the blue arrow over Book every single time, man. This is the guy I want.
Playoff riser.
I don't care what happens in November, Josh Dover. I know you do because you have a radio show and you got to talk about it. I don't. Well, I do have a show, but I don't care. I don't care, Dover.
Look, there is something so unexplainable about this Nuggets core. And I'll exclude MPJ from this conversation for just a moment. So maybe more so Jokic, Murray, Gordon, and Brown, who we need to talk about because he's not going to get enough love. He had a fantastic game tonight. I am sick and tired of guessing with the Nuggets because like they're so impossible to get a read because when they show up and play like they did tonight and get even a little bit of a contribution like they did tonight from Julian Strawther, they can seriously beat everybody. But then there's games like Games 4 and Game 5, a couple games in the Clippers series, Minnesota last year, where you want to bash your head through a wall.
Well, they're so one player short, and that's the one player who steps up.
It's crazy, man. But yeah, I agree with you. Jamal great tonight, Nikola great tonight. Strawther, I mean, before we get to CB, is there a consideration of like putting Strawther in the starting lineup now, or do you keep him off the bench?
No, you gotta keep.
I agree, but Porter, I mean, to just yank Porter like that in the second half, like if Strawther can give you some juice and you move Porter to the bench, I don't know.
I wouldn't say Porter was yanked because Porter just.
I thought he played decent tonight.
The Nuggets were huge. They were a +5 in his minutes, and those were clouded a little bit by those Westbrook minutes that we just talked about at the end of the first quarter. Whenever the starting 5 was out there, the Nuggets killed it tonight. Like the starting 5 was awesome. I can't wait for the data to come back up on the lineup data of what the net rating was. But I'm sure the Nuggets net rating on the Nuggets starting 5 tonight is going to be something like +20. Mm-hmm. Like they were fantastic tonight. So I'm starting Porter again. I'm hoping he takes the shot because he has that extra day to rest.
He looked better tonight.
He looked way better. He was moving good. He had a couple big rebounds in the game. And the Nuggets, I think, are 5-1 or 6-1 now when Porter scores more than 10 points in a playoff game. So that's a number to watch for. Yeah, I keep Julian off the bench. And the thing with Julian and Peyton right now is I'm in a situation with both of those guys where let's see how the minutes go, and then I'll consider how I play the rest of their minutes.
That's
so
fair.
If Julian and Peyton have a nice moment, and Julian wasn't loud in the first half, but he played well. He was playing good defense, and he was doing the right things. And then in the second half, the game came to him. It's the opposite of Russell Westbrook, who wants to make the game happen and forces the game. So I loved Julian's mentality coming off the bench. And just to tell the Julian Strawther story, because this is what I'm doing on DenverSports.com, he hasn't scored more than double figures in a game since the end of February. It's been 3 months because he had that injury to his knee that affected the end of his season. And then he couldn't get back into the rotation because the Nuggets are panicking and trying to make the playoffs when they fired their coach. And he never really had an opportunity again. And he gets an opportunity in game 6. He hits one shot. And it gave David Adelman, or game 5, and it gave David Adelman some reason to play him in game 6. So to have that confidence boost, and really, it started with game 2 in garbage time. Julian was pretty good. So he built this confidence in David Adelman, say, put me out here, let's see what happens. And then he made the most of his opportunity. So I love moments in sports like this when a guy gets an opportunity and makes the most of it. I'm hopeful that Julian gets a real look again in game 7. He's a player I've loved the entire time he's been here. The shooting fouls are garbage from him that he gets so many, but he's working on it. He's a young player. He's in his second season. He's going to clean some things up. He talked tonight to me about how he knows he struggles on defense, and that's ultimately what's going to make or break his career in the NBA if he's going to be able to stay on the floor because of his defense. Tonight he was. He's played some really good defense on SGA now for 2 games, and Julian is a guy throughout the course of the season before the injury was a really important player for this Nuggets team, and maybe that is the one more player. We just weren't able to see it because he was robbed of that opportunity because of the injury.
And the thing is, like, going back to the Malone Booth dynamic, and I think it's similar to that of Peyton Watson, a guy who you love the skill set, but these guys need run. Like, and Julian Strawther, to your point, I mean, that has got to be so difficult to be out as long as he was with the injury, getting scarce minutes here or there along the way, coming back and then get your name called to contribute in a must-win game 6 win or go home type dynamic. I mean, that says a lot about the mental fortitude of Julian Strawther, but also his belief in himself. Because
he's played in these games, even in this arena before. He played in an NCAA tournament in this arena.
Yeah.
He had huge moments in those games. He played in giant games at Gonzaga. So while he hasn't had those moments in the playoffs, he's played in big arenas on big stage against big teams, just similar to the way Christian Brown had going into his rookie year, where he was awesome for the Nuggets on that postseason run. So it is possible for a rookie to do this, but it makes sense that a rookie like Julian Strawther is able to, whereas a young player like Peyton Watson, he hasn't had that real experience yet.
Well, and I think what was telling to me about the mindset of Julian Strawther is after one of his big 3-point shots, I think Oklahoma City then shortly thereafter called a timeout. P. Watt comes out to the center of the court, bump chest pumped up, and Strawther says something along the lines, reading the lips of like, I'm ready, I'm here, something along those lines. And obviously you're feeling yourself in the moment, but you're talking about, does he get a real look in game 7? I mean, I think he has to. I don't even think it's a question. Unless Russell Westbrook comes out and shoots the lights out and you don't need him. But I think David Adelman has to be willing to go to Strawther quick and inject some life back into this rotation.
So we talked about them doing something radical. It wasn't just Julian. They went really, really small to start the fourth quarter.
Yeah, good point.
Which was a really interesting
they sat
adjustment.
Jokic.
They needed to.
And Jamal, and then they staggered them.
Yup.
Which I thought was kind of crazy in the moment.
It was gutsy, but your back is against the wall and you need to do something. They did radical things, and they played a lot of zone defense, which worked.
Yeah,
and then the Thunder,
zone's been good for them.
The Thunder finally adjusted midway through the game, so I'm a little concerned that the Thunder maybe have picked apart the Nugget zone, but ultimately it's going to take shooting, and the Thunder didn't have it tonight.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's again be objective. How much do you think the 4 fouls on SGA going into half affected his second half?
I honestly don't think much, but I do think the 3 fouls on Isaiah Hartenstein in the second quarter affected the way he defended Jokic the rest of the game.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Denver's got to try to be physical again in game 7, and I'm surprised that it worked with Mark Davis as the referee to a certain extent as well. But I think all in all, man, you can't complain too much. I mean, there was never really a moment in time. I know you and I were kind of going back and forth of, oh, they're going to win, oh, they're going to lose, oh, they're going to win, they're going to lose. I personally never waved in my I don't want to say confidence, but when they went down in the second quarter, I'm like, there's plenty of game left. I think Denver's a second half team. And they came out there and they showed that today. They play better when their backs are against the wall, and frankly, they play better when they're down. They don't play well with the lead, which is crazy. But that's the Denver Nuggets for you. So all in all, man, I mean, what a night. Good team victory. And I think these 2 days off is going to be a major, major boost for them.
And the guy we touched on but didn't hit, the Nuggets had a trio of players get 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in a playoff game for the first time in NBA history since 1966. That's Jokic, Jamal, who we've already talked about, those two, and Christian Brown with 23, 11, and 5.
Great game.
He was
his best
awesome.
game of the playoffs. 100%. He was absolutely fantastic tonight. And he's another one of those guys, man, like where when it all comes together and everything, the only thing that gets me worried about game 7 is how everything came together in game 6.
Well, and everything came together for the Clippers in game 6, you know,
right,
and then look what happened in game 7.
Exactly. But Denver's they don't got James Harden, right? Like it's a much different dynamic. And here's the thing, looking forward to game 7 real quick. I've talked about it on the pregame show. I've talked about it with you, when I gave my prediction. How is OKC going to handle the pressure cooker? Like that is what I am a true firm believer. Obviously, home court, I think, helps, but maybe not as much as some people think. I think game 7 is truly a coin flip game 9 times out of 10 in all the sports, baseball, basketball, hockey. Anything can happen in game 7. And I think if you're a Nugget fan, you've got to feel good about Denver's experience in the pressure cooker, minus last year against Minnesota, and just their overall ability to stay cool, calm, and collected when those lights are the brightest. We don't know that about Oklahoma City. Talk about pressure now. A 68-win team that a lot of teams consider to be a lot of people consider to be the best team in the NBA, which is a fact to a certain extent. Young players, not a lot of experience in the situation. Are they going to get the same foul calls? Do the refs let them play a little bit more now because it's a game 7? We're going to find out. But I think Denver mentally is better equipped to take down a more talented and a deeper Oklahoma City Thunder team.
Yeah, man, I'm looking back right now at the last time OKC would have played a game 7 at home.
I can't even remember.
Because they played game 7 against the Warriors. That series was on the road. That was in Oakland when they blew the 3-1 lead, and that ended up with Durant leaving. They played the game 7 in the bubble, which we've referenced, where Russell Westbrook scores 20 for the Houston Rockets, and they end up coming back and winning with a Lou Dort blocked 3 by James Harden at the buzzer of all people. But I'm going back here, man, and the point I'm trying to make is okay,
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time since Oklahoma City has hosted a game 7. In fact, it was May 15th, 2011 against the Memphis Grizzlies. They won that game 105-90. Of course, drastically different teams, including the fact that Russ is now on Denver and KD had 40 points in that game. But my point being is that crowd has not been through the wars. They have had a lot of success with that basketball team throughout history. They're going to be excited. I don't think the crowd, especially when the Nuggets have proven to be able to win a game on the road in that series, I don't think the crowd is actually a benefit to the Thunder. I'd actually argue that the crowd is probably hurtful, because if the Nuggets go on one of those 8-0 runs and the crowd goes silent, what is Kason Wallace and Jalen Williams going to do? It's going to get real tight.
And tight. That's why Denver's got to come out and bring the punch to them, much like I thought they did in this game. And I understand that when you look at the first quarter and the overall score, maybe it doesn't feel that way, especially because how the first quarter ended. But I just thought those opening minutes from Denver, Jamal Murray in particular, were so critical. And is Russ going to step up? Are we going to get a big MPJ game? Can he go for 20? Because if MPJ goes for 20, you're going to win the basketball game. I think you know what to expect from Jamal Murray. I think you know what to expect from Nikola Jokic. It's, can CB replicate his performance tonight? Is Aaron Gordon healthy enough to make a legitimate impact in this game? There's a lot of question marks outside of peanut butter and jelly with Joker and Jamal. A lot of things that have to go right. I'm not saying that this is a give-me game whatsoever for Denver. You want to play guess the line? I haven't even looked at it.
I was just about to do it.
What? OKC -8?
Oh, dude, you're getting better at this. 7.5.
Wow. That's basically, they got to win by 8 if you want to win the bet.
That is the lowest line so far
at home
for OKC.
That's a crazy line. Sorry. That's crazy. In a game 7?
Hold on. Yeah, Smith, I am. Where's KD right now? Cancun. Where's MPJ playing in the playoffs?
Attaboy. Let him know.
Yeah. And I love KD. I
do too. I love Kevin Durant.
I actually went up to Julian Strawther. I said the weatherman KD's going off like that, and the weatherman KD's is legendary.
Yep.
So but I'm gonna tell you this. So it's 7.5, and I don't know how to look this up. I'm gonna talk to my betting friends. I don't know in NBA history if a team's won a series when they've been the underdog in every single game.
Great question.
And because normally something happens, like a guy gets hurt, like the Tatum injury where they're already down 3-1 and now the Knicks are favorited or whatever happened. But that's incredible. Again, even getting to 7 games against this team, I could make an argument that this is the second best accomplishment of the Nikola Jokic era as a team, almost beating the 3-1 comebacks in the bubble, because this Oklahoma City team is that good. And there were the moments in the game, Aniello, where you said, oh, you remain confident. As soon as Alex Caruso, Kason Wallace, and Jalen Williams, J-Will, not J-Dub, started hitting threes, I said, here we go again. Because that's the thing that separates OKC from the Denver Nuggets, is they have that ability to score threes off the bench. I tweeted it midway through the game. I said, look, the Thunder are plus 20 in bench threes in this series. Almost tempting fate for Julian Strawther to make an impact on this game. Look, the Thunder, we've talked about this all series long, best defensive team in the NBA. They're able to win these tight, tough games throughout the course of the regular season, at least when they hold the other team to that. But they've been able to separate. So my question to you is, in a game where it's likely to be close and it's likely to be lower scoring, don't you think that kind of favors the Denver Nuggets, despite the fact that they're playing the number 1 defense in the NBA?
I agree. And you're talking about number 1 regular season defense. And I understand they were great against Memphis and they've been solid in some spots here in this series against Denver. But the playoffs specifically in the NBA are so, and really all sports, but the NBA, as we're talking about it, so different. And I tend to lean on the experience. And again, you use the word fate, man. Like, I'm a big believer in, manifesting and all that kind of stuff. I could be crazy. Nuggets in 7 was my prediction before the series. I think they're due to take on Minnesota. I absolutely positively think they're due to not only take on Minnesota, but right their wrongs against Minnesota as well. So let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, but I do think that this is like, it would be the most Nuggets thing ever to get to the NBA Finals this season.
And congrats, to get to the Western Conference Finals, even that is Nug life of congrats. Yeah. Your reward is you've played 2 7-game series. Now you have to play every other day against a team that just knocked you out last year.
And what did you talk about? Game 7 on Sunday will be their 14th game of this postseason. They played 20 total in the championship season.
Mm-hmm.
So think of it that way too. I mean, it's crazy. And at some point, again, being objective, you expect the legs to run out. You expect them to run out of gas.
Game 4 and Game 5.
Yeah. Nug life, baby. I can't explain it. This is like I've covered the Broncos, I've covered the Rockies, I've covered the Avalanche, I've covered the Buffs. It's pretty easy, not easy, but it's easier to tell the stories of those teams. I have no idea how to ever explain this Denver Nuggets team outside of just like witness. Like, I texted my buddy the stat that you talked about with the Game 7s, and my buddy's like, they take years off my life. Like, it is.
This is the 7th Game 7 of this era.
It's crazy. It is the definition of a roller coaster. And I understand that, that can be thrown around too common sometimes. Oh, it's a roller coaster game, a roller coaster season. No, the Denver Nuggets are like a roller coaster with like 5 inversions and corkscrews and loop-de-loops, and they're sending you backwards. Like, just get your popcorn ready, folks. Just get your popcorn ready.
Okay, so since the bubble, the lowest scoring Nuggets games, Game 7 against Minnesota, or Game 6 against Minnesota last year, where they got crushed.
Terrible.
Earlier that series against Minnesota here at home, where they only scored 80 points. Utah, Game 7, 80 points. So for a while, that was the lowest scoring Nuggets game of like the Nikola Jokic
They won a
MVP.
Game 7 scoring 80 points?
Yeah, 80-78. Mike Conley missing the shot. Jokic with the buzzer, with the game winner. That was in the bubble too, with the shooting percentages going up.
Points.
My point was going to continue on this. So the games that the Nuggets have won when they've scored this few points, if you look at it, like under 95, they've all been Game 7s. So, you want this, like I said on the pod earlier, I don't know if the Nuggets are going to get to 100 points. I don't know that they need to on Sunday. Like that, I can't even tell you how tight it's going to be with the whistle, and they're going to let everything go. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander lives at the free throw line. If Jalen Williams looks like that again, 3 for 16 from the field, I don't think he will either, but he has twice in this series.
Yeah. At home, they play much better at home. Like Lou Dort, I was looking at his 3-point percentage splits home and away. I mean, it's night and day. It really is. So again, get your popcorn. They're not. I don't think Denver's getting blown out. I'll put it that way. Like if they do lose, I think it'll be close. I think it'll be maybe reminiscent of Game 5. But I don't see Denver getting punked like they did in Game 2. I don't think Oklahoma City's there yet.
I have no feel on this series.
Yeah.
But I might be
Nuggets in 7, baby. Let's go. I believe.
Can't believe Nuggets in 7 is back. Oh my God. Let's go. years off my life, this team.
It's crazy.
Anyway, I guess we'll be talking to you on Sunday after the game. I might be in Oklahoma City. I've got to make travel plans. I'm still writing. So you will hear from us no matter where we are in the world. Hopefully I'm in Oklahoma City and you get an inside look in the locker room. We will have pods either way next week as well on Tuesday and Thursday, our normal days. It's either going to be preview game, pre-game podcasts and post-game podcasts, or it's going to be season wrap-up type stuff.
Don't say that.
I ask you this question on most podcasts that we've done, and I ask you again tonight. Was getting to game 7 of the second round enough for David Adelman to prove that he should have this job? Because this is now officially, in my mind, a deep playoff run. You've been playing playoff basketball for a month.
I'm still going to say no. I think what I said before the playoffs even started was a Western Conference Finals appearance minimum, and I understand they're 1 game short of that now. But I do think the Julian Strawther adjustment was great.
Against the best team in the NBA in the last decade.
That's what I'll say.
So if the Nuggets win on Sunday, David Adelman gets the job. 100%.
Not 100%.
In your mind,
he's the front runner. Okay. He's the front runner.
Okay.
I think you interview everybody else and you compare and contrast of, is this person better? But again, the interesting part about it is it'll all come down to who the GM is. Like I really do believe that even like take Bob Myers, for example, who picked against Denver tonight. I think he wants the job. Like if Bob Myers comes in here and says, no, like good job, but we're going to go in a different direction. Like it's understandable to a certain extent. You see that all the time where, coaches or GMs want to bring in their own coach, this and that. So, but I do think a Western Conference Finals appearance, you got to make, I think Josh Kroenke's got to put his foot down and say like, no, we're taking a hard look at this guy. He gave me 3 real reasons as to why he shouldn't be the head coach. I think that's the conversation that happens.
The off season ahead is going to be crazy, but somehow this playoff run has been even more insane, and it continues Sunday in the Sooner State. We get, at the very least, Denver, we get to watch Nikola Jokic play basketball one more time, and that's on Sunday. By the way, I have heavy doubts that the MVP is going to be awarded before that game. I think that is still not coming because TNT normally does that announcement, and there's no TNT games between now and Sunday.
So SGA, if they get bounced, is not going to have his moment on TV.
Find a horse in Serbia, SGA.
We all know who the best player in the world is.
Showed it tonight again.
We all know.
Awesome stuff from the Denver Nuggets. We'll be back on Sunday. Make sure you're tuned into denversports.com. I've got so much content coming your way, and we've got so much stuff coming on YouTube over the next couple of days and on 104.3 The Fan. I'm sure they're talking Denver Nuggets basketball right now on 104.3 The Fan because the Nuggets are the most important thing going on in town, and we're in May. This is awesome.
Let's go, baby.
Didn't used to be this way in Denver. Aniello Piro, Jake Shapiro. We'll talk to you soon.